The view from an incoming missile and then the drones above show just how accurate the Israeli military can be, as several missiles hit the same target with devastating effect. Israel says the target here is a militant standing outside a house during the 2012 Gaza war. How precise is the equipment that you use?
We have a video camera on the nose of the missile, and wherever me or another gunner decides to take the missile, that's where the missile will fly. If we need to hit the top right corner of a window or the bottom left corner of the window, that is where the missile will hit.
Here's an example in Gaza City, one of the most densely populated places on Earth. The military says the missile flies slowly so it can be diverted. A direct hit with no collateral damage despite the tight spot.
We targeted approximately 100 terrorists. And we were quite successful in taking them out of the equation.
And Israel points to leaflet drops, warning Palestinians to stay away from certain areas when major bombing is imminent, which is why many Israelis reacted with surprise and irritation to a recent Human Rights Watch report asserting evidence Israel was guilty of war crimes related to its airstrikes in Gaza.
Sometimes it was a direct missile targeting someone who should have been clearly a civilian. And in another case, it was a very large aerial bomb that would hit a house.
Any loss of human life is tragedy. As we proved in Operation Pillar of Defense, we are putting great effort into reduce the amount of civilian casualties.
That is certainly not how residents who live here in Gaza see it.
Look at their actions. All my family has been killed. All my children.
This hole used to be where Jamal al-Dalu's three-story home stood. Israel bombed the site, killing 10 members of his family, including 5 women, 4 small children, and 2 neighbors. In tears, he shows us the pictures of the dead. Israel's military advocate general investigated the case and months later determined what happened was regrettable but not criminal, and that the military took significant precautions not to kill civilians, in that case and 64 others. During the operation, Israel gave CNN the name of the militant it said it was targeting, but it turned out he was not among the dead. The military changed its story, later naming one of the al-Dalu family men as a Hamas militant.
So under the laws of war, that person would be a legitimate target. But the question is, the Israeli strike blew up an entire house, severely damaged neighboring houses, and killed 12 people. To us, that looks very disproportionate.
The Human Rights Watch report cited more than 40 deaths caused by Israel it said were unlawful and unjustified. With all the new technology, why are civilians still being killed?
I think that's a question you should actually relate to Hamas, because they intentionally plant the rockets and their terrorist capabilities, whether it's command and control, they place them within the civilian population.
And that goes to the heart of why Israel was launching attacks on Gaza. Hundreds of Hamas rockets fired indiscriminately into Israel from inside Gaza, sometimes from residential neighborhoods. Here is what happens when those Palestinian-fired rockets hit Israeli houses. These 2 nearly destroyed. In all, 6 Israelis were killed, 4 of them civilians. Israel says the majority of rockets are headed for cities filled with civilians before being shot down. Gaza's leadership insists its military aims only at Israeli military targets, but admits the rockets are unreliable.
Most of it handmade. Actually, they don't have the precise system that to make sure when you direct these rockets to certain military bases, it will hit that military bases.
The more hardline Islamic Jihad makes no apologies about who was targeted.
They claim they are civilians, but there are no civilians in Israel. They all carry weapons, and they all kill the Palestinian people.
A separate Human Rights Watch report said there were plenty of examples of war crimes committed by Palestinian militants firing rockets into Israel.
Those are either indiscriminate or they're deliberately targeting civilians, and either way, that's basically a war crime.
And what about Gaza militants routinely firing rockets from residential neighborhoods? We saw ourselves in neighborhoods, rockets leaving from populated areas. Isn't the military part of Hamas concerned about the civilians there, knowing they will be targets?
The Israeli actually, they don't wait to see from where these rockets being fired. They all the time hitting here and there, and that's why we have this huge number of casualties. Gaza is a very tiny place, and you have to see what is the best place where you can fire rockets.
Hamas has also been shown to have killed some of its own people with rockets that misfired, including this 4-year-old child that Hamas portrayed at the time as a symbol of Israeli brutality. Human Rights Watch says that whether it was crude rockets or high-precision missiles, all sides in the Gaza war have plenty to answer for. Sarah Seidner, CNN, Gaza City.